Okay, so here's where we got started. Let's just see where we are at this point. We've done our introductions. You've talked about a moral problem. Now you understand how to get into Blackboard. If not, you should be working on it, because otherwise I don't know how you've gotten to this. And now we want to talk a little bit about the syllabus. So let's now, we're going to go a couple slides forward to get past this, because I've asked you to write about it. You know about the assignment, but here's what I want you to do. We're going to look at the syllabus, and right at the top of the syllabus, the first thing is we're going to see the designation of the course. Now this is not the current syllabus. This is a set of slides that I'm using from previous time, and I'm going to use this in the future because my syllabus, the format doesn't change. This is telling you where to find information. So you see the number of the course, the section you're in, the CUNY First ID. CUNY First ID and section is going to be different. It's not all criminal justice ethics isn't. You've seen who I am. T8-104A is my office. That's my telephone number that I never answer over there. You have an email address for me, prof.legum@gmail.com. I got to check the course because to make sure that you were asked to send me an email there, so I have I have an email address to get to you and a phone number to get to you in case there's a problem. The next thing is Richard Legum at kbcc.cuny.edu, my official Kingsborough address. Hold off to just send me things that are absolutely official. You're contesting the grade. You got to talk to some, the chairman for some reason. I don't know, but and if you're doing that, do me a favor, send it to that first address as well. Okay, office hours. That's particular. You'll see it. Check the latest copy of the syllabus to find out when my office hours are. For you, if you're seeing this online, phone or Zoom, so send me an email. We'll make an appointment as quickly as possible. Okay, and here we have a fundamental question. How should I live my life? And it's a fundamental question in philosophy, but especially in questions of ethics and morality. And this course is going to help you at least discover some of the answers to this question, since that question is kind of ambiguous. Now, the next thing you'll go in and you will see is the course description, which is what is in the catalog. You can read it. An application of ethical theories to moral issues arising in the American criminal justice system, such as civil disobedience, police corruption, whistleblowing, stop and frisk, prosecutor, a whole bunch of ethical issues about conduct of policemen, of judges, of lawyers, of people in corrections in the criminal justice system. Those are the kinds of things. And we're going to talk about whether they are right or wrong, not whether they are in fact the practices. You take other criminal justice courses or other courses in criminal justice to find out what the practices are. Here we're going to look at specific ones, and our focus is really going to be on policing at first. Kind of interesting. Okay, and just so you know, this course, CUNY has what are called the Pathways Flexible Core, that you need to take one in each of 5 groupings. This one is from Group D, the 4th grouping, where this one gives you individual and society. Okay, now, here's a section that's only new to my syllabi, and it relates to the fact that I'm a career fellow at CUNY. And one thing we're trying to do is help you see what you're learning in school and map that out to the competencies and the skills that employers are looking for. And there's a place called the National Association of Colleges and Employers, which have they have identified 8, what they say is the most valued career competency skills. I have some questions about a few of them, but in general, I think they're right. I read the Wall Street Journal on a regular basis, and I watch things because I'm worried about teaching my students things that are going to give them skills and competencies that are going to help them get a job. You're going to learn stuff about philosophy, yes, and philosophy has a value in that you are going to acquire skills. But the valued career competencies and skills that have been identified with this organization are career and self-development, that you have to be able to find a career and develop yourself. Communication skills, it doesn't matter. You could be in a technical role. You could be, even if you're a tradesman, you still have to communicate to be effective and make a living. Critical thinking, problem solving, that is something that's essential to philosophy. It's something you're going to learn in this course in a way that you're not going to learn anywhere else. You won't learn this anywhere else whatsoever. The ability to reason, to think critically about things, to see if there are mistakes in what you're thinking, to help refine your thinking, and they're all geared to solving problems. Leadership, something would be nice to have, you acquire, you can help people out, you can help them gain competencies, you can help them do jobs. Professionalism, for you to act like and behave like a professional in your field. That's kind of important. Teamwork is important. You do some of that stuff. Online, the closest we get are discussion boards, because that's just the way the courses work, and they have to be convenient to do this way. And certainly since the pandemic, we've learned how to do, well, we've learned to do this a little bit better. I imagine we're going to get better and better as time goes on. Okay, and finally, technology basics. Well, you better be there, because getting on Blackboard enables you to do the stuff that we need to do. It's very helpful in looking at your courses, and it's a best practice in education, to give you an idea about what the outcome, what the benefit of the course is. That is, what you're going to be able to do when you're done with the course. That's when you've successfully completed. And overall, the outcome is that you're going to have an understanding of the moral underpinnings of the United States system of criminal justice. You're going to know about the moral foundations that it's based on. And the way you're going to do this is because you're going to have gained skills in identifying moral problems, and especially the moral problems confronting the administration of criminal justice in the United States, understanding, analyzing, and explaining the ethical issues, the ones arising in criminal justice systems, affecting the police, the courts, corrections, juvenile justice, problems like, ethical issues like police corruption, whistleblowing, plea bargaining, capital punishment, racism. We're going to be able to understand how to apply moral theories, which in particular we're going to look at something called consequentialism, rule-based ethics, ethical relativism. We're at least going to understand why. I don't think that last one is very helpful, but we're going to understand the moral theories and how to apply them to the problems that we're dealing with. And we're going to be able to make and evaluate decisions, that is, decisions about the morality of various criminal justice practices. And you're going to do that through the analysis and evaluation of moral reasoning and moral arguments, and you're going to learn more about that. But what's very helpful and part of our CUNY Career Success Program is to be able to help you understand these are what you're going to be able to do as a result of the course. The question is, how are these going to relate to the kind of skills and competencies that are going to help you get a job, get a good career? And here I'm going to do a mapping of these learning outcomes to career success skills among the 8 that we identified earlier. Okay, in the first one, we were going to identify moral problems in the U.S. criminal justice system, and the kind of skills you're going to be gaining in doing that is you're going to learn how to problem solve, how you solve problems. In addition to which, in the process, you're going to be doing some career development. You're going to think about what kind of careers may be available in the criminal justice system that might be of interest to you. So we're going to analyze and explain these moral issues, and here we're going to get involved in critical thinking. We're going to think about reasons and arguments for and against various kinds of practices. We're thinking that various kinds of practices are moral, and we're going to learn how to discuss them with other people in a rational basis. So we're going to get the necessary, we're going to be improving our communications skills. Then we're going to learn how to apply moral theories to solve some of these kinds of problems, and it's going to be a help developing yourself. Not only are you going to gain some knowledge about what people think drives morality and make things moral or immoral, but you're also going to learn a little bit about how to apply these kinds of ideas, these kinds of concepts in making decisions. And finally, what we're going to be practicing is making and evaluating decisions about the morality of criminal justice practices. which again, this is problem solving. It's also a leadership skill in leading various areas within the criminal justice system, having this ability to problem solve, to make and evaluate decisions on a rational basis, especially regarding the morality of it, which is going to affect people, is a very important skill to have. Okay, let's just go into the course description a little bit to understand what we're going to be dealing with in the course. And long paragraph, the course it's an introduction to application of these ethical theories, they're called normative ethical theories, to moral issues arising in the criminal justice system of the United States. We're going to examine and learn how to apply these philosophical theories to resolve contemporary moral issues in criminal justice. In particular, we're going to be talking about police corruption, whistleblowing regarding police corruption, maybe touch on plea bargaining, capital punishment, and racism in the criminal justice system. And we're going to use ethical dilemmas. We're going to learn about some ethical dilemmas that arise in criminal justice. And the way we're going to learn a little bit about this is we're going to actually look at some movies, some a little bit older, some recent, good movies, because they give you good examples to test out how ethical concepts should and do work within the context of these problems. Okay, and one thing that's important, the goal of this is not like the goal of what you do in the supermarket when you're adding up, your total and seeing how much you owe. It's not what they call the bottom line. It's not how much you have to give the cashier, but rather philosophy is worried about one's reasons for believing more than what people believe. I'm not going to worry about what you believe. You want to come to the correct belief, but the way we think you can get to the correct belief is by seeing if the reasons that you have for those beliefs are good ones. So as a result, we're going to be examining the application of moral theories. And these moral theories are going to be things that you think, are capturing principles about morality that you think are correct. And they've been proposed throughout the ages, or at least more recently, within the last couple hundred years, they've really been the theories that people use to explain and justify ethical judgment. And we're going to be seeing how to apply these in the context of the moral issues that arise in the criminal justice system that we're going to learn about from the movies. Now, the required materials. You don't have to buy any books. You might have to get access to certain movies. We're going to be watching 3 movies during the course of the semester. And these are the movies that we're really going to be focusing on. The first one is a documentary about the 7-5. The name the 7-5 is, you might be wondering, where does it come from? It comes from the 75th precinct in Brooklyn. And there was some issues arising about police corruption in the 1980s. In the 75th precinct, which was in East New York. Many of you have been through East New York, go through East New York, know where it is and know about East New York. This focuses on some police corruption that occurred in the 1980s. Next one, we're going to be talking about a documentary about Frank Serpico. There was a movie about Frank Serpico. I think the name of it was Serpico. It was starring Al Pacino. Excellent movie. I think it was an award-winning movie. This is a documentary about it. Frank Serpico was involved, was a whistleblower. Somebody's trying to point out corruption or refused to get involved in corruption. And there was a huge corruption scandal in the New York City Police Department in the 1970s. So it's 10 years before the 7-5. But we're going to see Serpico's decision about how to handle the problems were rather different than the characters that we're going to see in the 7-5. So, and we're going to be talking about comparing, contrasting that. What are good police practices? What are bad police practices? How should you act? Finally, we're going to conclude the semester looking at a movie called Just Mercy. And it's about a Harvard-trained lawyer who moves down south and opens up a practice helping people who have been wrongly accused of murder and have been sentenced to the death sentence. And we're going to really focus on that. And the issue of racism in policing, really in the criminal justice system, will come up in that context. 3 good movies, worthwhile. Now, don't just think you're going to sit there and read them, to get some soda and popcorn and hang out with a friend of yours. Rather, you're going to end up taking notes. We're really going to have to understand what's going on because each of these movies is going to bring up different ethical dilemmas that are faced by various people in various roles in the criminal justice system. Okay, so I talked about the 3 documentary was from 2015, the 7.5. Frank Serpico documentary, 2017. If you want to watch the movie, that will help you understand some of the moral dilemmas. And Just Mercy is not that old, from the 2020. Okay, in addition to that, I'm going to give you reading. I'm going to post things online, readings related to what we're talking about. However, there are some books that might help you out. They are recommended, not required. One is the Cartoon Introduction to Philosophy. It might sound like a little bit of a scrammy thing, but when I first saw this, I thought this was kind of crazy. After all, read a textbook. Why are you looking at a cartoon introduction? And as a matter of fact, this book happens to be an excellent book in summarizing some major philosophical problems, and in particular problems of ethics. So I think it's really good. If you want to get a hold of it, it's about $15. There's another book, introductory book, $10 to $15, inexpensive book, Hornbook Ethics by Charles Cardwell, philosophy professor at a community college down, it's somewhere down south, Mississippi. I think it might be in Mississippi. I'm not sure. I'd have to go grab the book and take a look to remember. Some of it's a little bit tough, but it talks a bunch about the different ethical theories. Although there's going to be a chapter on ethics in the Cartoon Introduction to Philosophy that'll explain stuff. And finally, there's a book, Just Mercy, that the movie is a sort of condensed version of. That there are more things that are discussed in there, and it raises some interesting questions of pursuing justice within the context of the criminal justice system in the courts.